7/22/2024. First, we're going to start off with a flag salute. Kristen, you want to?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director Michael. We acknowledge the original inhabitants of this area, the Snohomish people, and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered, and taken care of these lands. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. We will strive to be honest about our past mistakes and bring about a future that includes their people, stories, and their voices to form a more just and equitable society. We're going to move to approval of agenda. Do I have a motion?
I move to table board action item J number 2.
Table J2. A motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? All right. Do we have a motion on the new amended agenda?
Move to approve the agenda as amended. A second.
All right, motion and a second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. All right, superintendent's report.
Thank you so much. Distinguished Board of Directors, Zach Robbins for the record. Summer learning is happening in the Marysville School District. The summer learning programs in Marshall Elementary are going strong. Nearly 300 students are served in the Summer Acceleration Academy, which focuses on students entering 2nd and 6th grade extended school year for students pre through 12th grade with an IEP, and the 21st Century program for students entering 1st through 6th grade. High school summer credit retrieval and initial credit offerings have wrapped up, serving over 250 students in the programs. Thank you to our teachers, paraeducators, food service staff, and school and district administrators for making these extended opportunities possible for our students. The summer learning programs end on July 31st. Thank you also to our food service team for preparing and providing free summer meals at Liberty Elementary and Marshall Elementary, which are free for children and youth up to age 18. We are providing a summer graduation ceremony for students who have completed their graduation requirements beyond the end of the 2024 school year. The ceremony is scheduled for August 15th at 6 p.m. at the Marysville Pilchuck High School auditorium. We're looking forward to celebrating these students' accomplishments. Financial Oversight Committee, the work of the Financial Oversight Committee appointed by State Superintendent Chris Breakdahl is underway. The committee scheduled 4 meetings to review the district's financial reports, status, and binding condition requirements. 2 meetings have already occurred, July 10th and 16th. The remaining meetings are July 24th, 30th, and August 5th, when the committee will report on their work and hold a public hearing during the board meeting. Following the Financial Oversight Committee study, review, and public hearing, they will present their findings to Superintendent Breakdown no later than August 16th. The findings will then be made available to the district and publicly shared. And finally, on our 2024-2025 budget, the district is required to submit the budget for the upcoming school year by August 31st, 2024. This year, all preliminary data leads us to project we will submit a balanced budget that is positive and not a deficit budget. This is a result of the hard work and dedication, difficult decisions and sacrifices made by our staff to help right-size the budget. And thank you to our families also for your hard work and collaboration in this effort. And that is my report.
All right, thank you very much. Communications and reports presented by Jody Ryan. Upcoming events.
Thank you. Test.
Okay, test. Good evening, Dr. Robbins, Board of Directors. Are we able to project the upcoming events on the screen? Okay, that's all right. I have a short list, but it is summertime. So we want to celebrate a few things that are happening in our schools. Dr. Robbins already talked about summer school and our free meals program. We also have coming up, starting tomorrow, July 23rd, Marysville Middle School is offering some fun activities for students, which is really great. And also Allen Creek Elementary School has a summer library program open every Wednesday. So those are great opportunities for students and families during summer. I wanted to mention coming up at our next board meeting on August 5th, there will be an opportunity, excuse me, at the work study and regular board meeting session for the Financial Oversight Committee to do a short presentation and also hold a public hearing. That's at the next scheduled, regularly scheduled board meeting. Sorry, I'm losing my voice tonight. I haven't had to talk for like a week, I guess. A reminder that school offices open on August 15th, so they will reopen for our students and families. And then also of note, I wanted to mention that a lot of schools are starting to post their back to school events, and those are located on their website calendars. So I think that's really important to note. In addition, on the board agenda, which is not on this upcoming events list, I wanted to mention that the agenda states that we submitted information to OSPI and the Northwest ESD by our July 10th deadline, and the communications department made sure that that information was made public. It was shared with our families and our school community, our community partners, and it's also posted on a dedicated website for the budget. So all of those documents listed can be found on our website. And that is the end of my report this evening.
All right, thank you very much.
You are very welcome.
All right, next up we have I Heart Marysville Grove Church Recognition. That's going to be presented by Greg Dennis, Director of Safety, Security, and Facilities. Come on, Greg.
Good evening, School Board and Superintendent Robbins. I have a couple special guests I'm going to bring up also. Evan and Teresa from Grove Church that spearheaded the I Heart Marysville project this year. And a small little helper apparently joining Evan. So I want to talk about some of the projects they did for us this year. The big project they took on was repainting the ELC, ECAP building and doing some landscape beautification stuff there. They also did beautification at Pinewood Elementary, repainted the United States map at Allen Creek Playground, did some cleanup and tune-up on Fantasy Fortress at Cascade Elementary, and dugouts at Marysville Middle School. We had one set of fields that, you have a lot to say, don't you, kiddo? We had one set that they hadn't replaced in years past, so they were able to finish that this year also. So I wanted to bring up here and offer them extension of our gratitude and appreciation for the work they did. And we have a little certificate here. But I first wanted to ask, is there anything you guys wanted to talk about with the projects or I Heart Marysville in general? I know it's bigger than just the school district that you do.
Yes,
You get to sing into the mic, just like karaoke.
oh yay. Actually, it's just our honor. We do it every year. We connect with all of you guys and try and help as much as we can. We actually added on MP, they were cleaning out the greenhouse. A couple teachers got together and reached out to us, so we were happy to come help. And each year it gets bigger, and you guys have learned that we can get a lot of work done, so the list grows, and we're happy to do it. Also, just an added thing, we're also serving our students and the community with our back to school bash, which Jody, I will get you the information, on August 15th, so free school supplies and all the things, as well as having an educator's boutique this year for teachers and educators to come get free supplies for their classrooms. So thank you for letting us come and serve you. This year for iHeart, we were able to complete almost 8,000 man hours in 7 different cities in 4 days. and completed 31 projects, so.
So with that, we have a certificate of appreciation presented to the Grove Church. The Marysville School District recognizes and appreciates the dedication and hard work shown by the Grove Church through the I Heart Community Cleanup in support of Marysville and Tulalip children, schools, and the district. Signed by Connor Krebs, Acting President, Board of Directors, and Dr. Zachary Robbins, Superintendent. Thank you. Thank you, Board.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right, next up on the agenda is the hearing of business of visitors. I have a list right here. Just go through some of this stuff. I know most of the speakers have spoken before and know these rules, so each individual has up to 3 minutes. Individuals wishing to combine their time must sign in on the speaker's clipboard. To combine time, parties must be present. Maximum of 2 people can combine their allotted time for a total of 6 minutes, allowing for a broader representation of diverse viewpoints. Maximum time allotted for the hearing of business of visitors per agenda is 30 minutes. First on my list is Nancy Harvey. Hello, Nancy.
Hello, Nancy Harvey, community member. I live near Cedar Crest Middle School. I have lived most of my 74 years here in Marysville. 4 generations of my family have graduated from Marysville high schools. I don't have enough time in 3 minutes to tell you why the totem community should not be destroyed. I have written 3 emails to each of the board members explaining some of the reasons. In one, I noted a glaring error about the age of Totem's buildings. I pointed out a building at Totem that was built in 1967 when I was a junior in high school there. But there's even a newer building. It's the music building, and that was built in the early 1980s. So the buildings are not as old as your reports indicate. What I don't see in the reports is a side-by-side comparison of the operating costs and the upcoming maintenance costs for the middle schools. There's no side-by-side comparison. One thing that wasn't covered in the emails I sent to the board of directors is about the CTE class. And I wonder if you know that there was an approximately $200,000 CTE grant to remodel the shop area at Totem Middle School. The sole purpose of that CTE grant was to create a maritime class. We completed the first year of that maritime class last year. This is with Native students in mind. It was so successful that now there will be 2 classes for CTE this coming year. But somebody's got their eye on our shop. When Totem gets closed, and it's not really closed because we're not going to kick everybody off campus, maintenance wants to move into that shop, the shop that was remodeled for the purpose of a CTE class for students. It should be Totem students who occupy that shop, that classroom. We're a public school district. Students should come first, not maintenance needing more space. One thing I recently learned was that the state caps the amount of money it gives to each school district for special education. It was at 13.5%, but I believe it's going up to 15% of students enrolled in the district. The problem is that Marysville has more SPED students than the state will pay for. This makes our money woes even worse. It is estimated that MSD will have to make up $600,000, which the state will not pay for. Oh, I apologize, I'm out of time.
we need to fix things at the state level.
Thank you, Nancy. All right, next up on my list is Stacy Eliason. Hey, Stacy.
Donating my time to Ron Friesen.
Okay. Next on my list is Mike Coogan.
I am Mike Hogan. I live north of North Marysville behind Schultes Elementary. And I'm just speaking for a couple of points. One, really excited to see the work being done over at Marysville Pilchuck at the greenhouse area, the agricultural compound. Years ago, Marysville had a very rich and very involved agricultural program with two agriculture teachers. Some of us remember Andy Deligans and Willie Getz, and they ran a very strong program here in Marysville. When both of those retired, that program kind of went into disarray and then disappeared. At the time, I addressed that with the superintendent at the time, and he just believed that the students would be absorbed into the science programs because they were getting biological science through agricultural science classes, horticultural science, and animal science. We had a farm out by the State Patrol. I don't know what's happened to that situation out there. I think that's all been absorbed into the hinterlands and gone. And I know I've addressed many times, because my sons went to Marysville Pilchuck, so I watched that facility go into disarray. And it's really been good to see it coming back. My question is it going back as a CTE class? And I haven't heard of an agricultural program opening up at Marysville Pilchuck. I'd like to see that again because of the leadership that it gives those students. And that's a career and technical class. That's a trades class. We got a tradesman right here. We need more people in the trades. We need more people growing food. We need people being able to speak about that. And that's the kind of programs that agricultural science gives you, because the students get to not only get their science class through the agricultural sciences, but then at the same time get to compete and work on their public speaking, their leadership skills, and become very, very good leaders in our communities. I don't know that we're going in that direction. I don't know who is planning on taking over that horticultural area, but I'd like to see CTE coming back into Marysville. I think it's a very important piece. And the last little piece real quickly is with our budget, as I see my time's going down, is with the budget. I heard as I'm driving on the news that the Marysville situation with the state has been improved with our budget. I can't say, I won't get an answer, I'm not sure, but if that's true, but through attrition, through personnel issues. And I was looking at the school board, we got 32 people leaving the district through retirement or through resignations, and common sense would say those are going to be rehired, because those are teachers that were hired to handle one FTE or drive one bus. I know we are short bus drivers. We're not enriched with extra bus drivers. So we're gonna have to hire those positions back. I don't know where that net gain is gonna come from that. I keep seeing all these programs circling around where programs are cut, hires leave, people retire, and we don't end up seeing, there's not really a true net gain for our district. I'm just kind of wondering where that's going to come from. But that's it. Agriculture, that's where we're at. We need to bring agriculture back, and I don't know what we're doing with all the people that are leaving. I'm thinking we're gonna hire them back or those positions. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Next on my list, I have Chris Davis.
Well, between the amendment to the, plan of the night and Nancy covering things, I think pretty well, like, most of us come here upset. Like, people don't show up and say good job often enough, but you can tell, like, tonight, y'all listened to the room, paying attention to the feedback from the community over the past several weeks, like, thank you for taking the pause and receiving feedback from the community, and not just jumping into cost of living allowance increases for administrators before the budget is approved. So, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. All right, next up, I have Ron Friesen, and you have 6 minutes, Ron. 6 minutes.
Thank you, Board. Dr. Robbins. I'm following up on Don Hatch's remarks from the previous board meeting. And this information is much for our community as for our board and admin. We have a tortured history in Marysville, which has not relented. Starting that I remember in the early 70s with Pilchuck High School, which divided the community. And then in the late 70s and to the early 2000s, we recovered. It was great. My family was, and I lived here before we had kids, and we were going to leave. But we saw the improvement in the district, and we decided to stay. Our kids went through the entire school system, had a great education. But we have gone downhill again. And the reason for that, I believe, is our community turned to cheap instead of best value. Our community said, we want it cheap. We don't want best, we don't want best value. We have a whole litany of trauma and scars that I don't know any other community may have, and challenges. These are trauma, scars, and challenges. We tried to add Pilchuck High School, and adding a second high school in a district is always hard. We didn't do it well in 1970. And we went back to one high school, and now the Marysville-Pilchuck High School name is still the legacy of that misadventure all the way back in 1970. It reminds us. The teacher strike divided the community. There's still resentment about that, believe it or not, and it's difficult. We had a school shooting in this community that we like to try and close our eyes and ignore because it's so traumatic, but it has affected us. We had a second try at the high school at Getchell. It was built cheap, the format was not supported, and the format failed. Now we have a dramatic demographic and economic split, the Upper East Side and the South versus the lowlands in the North. We are very, very divided economically in our school district, much like Seattle was in the early 60s and 70s. The last bond failed that we had, it was cut and failed even worse. We haven't had a replacement since then. Superintendent Jason Johnson was removed, and the resulting costs of that are still affecting us. Our Hispanic community is a challenge, not a bad one, a good one. They are 30% of our total community, 40% of our population, but their needs are not being met. And they have been isolated geographically. And it's hard to get their support for our schools. We are now a majority school district. Does everybody know that? And we're not meeting the student needs. Our Tulalip Reservation and our neighbors there are on the other side of the mountains. The freeway went in, and it divided our community. And the needs there go back generations and have not been acknowledged or met by our schools. We had a pandemic. Our school boards in previous years established a pattern of presenting a levy or a bond. It gets rejected, and then it gets cut and resubmitted. Message to community, you didn't need what you asked for. And the community has learned that we rarely now pass anything on the first try. Finally resulting in our double levy loss. Our last levy was passed on the first try, but now we know that that wasn't even sufficient for our student needs. It was a something is better than nothing levy that we worked so hard to pass. The state funding model is on the verge of collapse, affecting us terribly. Current unprecedented political turmoil and division affects us. Our enrollment is steadily declining as public confidence turns away from us. And now we have our administrative turmoil. okay? So what my point is to my board and to my community, this place we are today did not just happen last year, last 2 years, last 3 or 4 years. This has been a long time coming, and it's gonna take a long time to fix. We need to figure out how to do better. My big concern is that grievances and resentments do not motivate community support. I hope the community hears that. That doesn't motivate community support, only vision does. And I'm looking for vision from the district, from the board, from our admin leadership. Our motto says engage, inspire, prepare. Too many students are not engaged. How do we engage them? We don't have a plan. Too many students are not inspired. How do we inspire them? There's not a plan. Too many students are not prepared. How can they be if they're not engaged and inspired? Many are calling for the superintendent to be fired. Then what? We've been down that road before, haven't we? We must learn from our past mistakes. We have to understand our history, and in order to rebuild and prevent a repeat. So board members, I'm thankful to all of you for stepping up in this desperate time of need. Please expect and demand clear, complete, comprehensive vision, not just a rough outline. The community has supported this in the past, and they will again. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Ron. All right. Can't read the last name. It looks, Alex is the first name. Is there an Alex? Yeah, Alex.
Hello, my name is Alex Stojan. I'm a Marysville Pilchuck graduate, class of 2000. Been here for a while. And as the previous speaker said, yes, some of the administration issues have gone back a long time. Been here a while, seen a lot. But there comes a point where failure means change, not carrying on with what we have. I mean, we see it a lot, especially in business. Ford CEOs roll over, Boeing CEOs roll over, leave because of that. And yes, they get a golden parachute. They're good. People's lives are changed because they're affected by what that CEO has done. I'm not pointing any fingers here because it's very clearly laid out that I can't point fingers at people, but I really think that should change. Because I don't think as a group, we're responsible for one person's decisions. Yes, we make decisions together, but I think at some point we need a seasoned leader to come in that understands where we're from, who understands where we need to go, has had the experience of being through something like that, and I'm doubting that. I'm doubting that because I also hear that my high cap student child has, of course, people of her same mental capacity that she works with, learns with, grows with. But now in the mix, there's general education stuff, which takes away from her advantage, her learning with that teacher. So now you're making money is affecting my child's ability to learn and possibly affect the rest of their life for a small gain now for you. I don't like that. I want my child to learn, prosper, and grow. I'm not seeing a cohesive vision. I want some change. Yeah, the previous speaker was very clear about the history. And yes, we need to look back at history so we don't repeat it. At the same time, some change is required and needed. And I'm sorry, but I think there is some change to be done here. Those of you that are new, welcome aboard. Please do your best to help our children grow, engage them, inspire them, prepare them, like, of course, the previous people were saying. But we need a good, strong, seasoned leader to lead this community to success, to being number one, rather than being the first in the state to need OSPI, supervision of this sort. I hope my message is well received. but I'm not a very eloquent speaker, but I have ADHD, so my mind wanders a lot. So, that being said, have a good evening. Thank you.
That concludes our hearing of business of visitors. Of course, we did receive some written public comments as well from Karen Bloom. And then Ron, we have your written comments as well. All right, next up, the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the work study regular session and executive session minutes of May 20th, 2024 as presented. I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Consent agenda, is there a motion on the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion?
If you want to recognize gifts to the district.
Did you want to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Find the right spot in my packet here. Cascade PTSA, it was $3,878.36. Kellogg Marsh PTSA, to support field trips and transportation, $3,156. Allen Creek PTSA, to help finance Cedar Springs outdoor field trips, $2,198. Marysville Seroptimus, to support our McKinney-Vento students and their families. Pinewood PTSA 23-24 yearbooks in the amount of $1,898.24. Pinewood PTSA for Pinewood Library Curriculum, $415.10, for a total of $13,000, $545.70. I'm having a hard time reading this list. But we're very, very grateful for the contributions of our community. Obviously to the Grove Street Church, and then also Beth Schools Marysville, that I know is also part of the key greenhouse cleanup. Wonderful to see the community support.
Yeah, thank you again to everybody who submitted gifts to the district. We really appreciate it. I do also want to, I don't think James is here. Is he? Jamie? James did a lot of work. He's graduated now, but he did a lot of work on a policy for one of his classes, and he put months into it. And so I wanted to, if he watches this Zoom meeting later, I just wanted to thank him personally for the work that he put into it.
Yep.
Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, same recognition of Jimmy. He's been waiting for this, so.
It's a lot of work for a senior project, for sure.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next up, board action, Marysville School District Highly Capable Student Services Partnership with Whitworth University, presented by Brandon Muller, Director of Categorical Programs.
Can you hear me? Good. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Robbins. I'm presenting tonight on the situational report where we would like to look at a partnership with Whitworth University. What they're offering us is an opportunity for our teachers to get endorsed in highly capable services for our students. And they're offering this also with the opportunity for free professional learning for 2 of the sessions to the whole district. So opening it up that way is another area that they're offering it open for us. And I see this as an opportunity also because it'll help build the capacity for our teachers. As they gain more academic support in this area, it'll also be something that they can support others with, and they can help expand the program. This was part of what we had initially put together with the district-wide plan, and that we also were able to come together with when we did the district-wide survey that showed that this is an area of need and an area of focus that our teachers wanted to look into. We did do an interest form just to see, to double check, are people interested in doing something like this? It was sent out to all school principals to send to their staff. And from there, we got about 17 teachers that were interested. From there, what we need to do is, of course, if we go through the approval process, then a formal registration can begin. But the interest form was sent out just to see if this was something that we should be feasible with moving forward with, which brings us here tonight. We're asking if we could enter into this partnership with the university. They are giving a discount too within this. It's, I believe, within the documents that we shared. And this would be a year-long process that teachers would go through. From my understanding, this could also, the credits can go towards their master's degree too, as they're doing that. So it's just a great way to support our educators while supporting the need for our HiCap program to get that type of service and instruction. So it's kind of doing everything all at once.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion before we have any discussion?
I move to approve the Marysville School District's highly capable student services memorandum of understanding with Whitworth University.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion?
So I see this is a little over $70,000.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that come from?
That would, we'd use our HiCap funding for that. Yeah.
And that's already figured in to the budget for this year, or?
It would be going into next year's budget, so I'm trying to think ahead. And get it planned out. Also, if we were to do it this year, they have to be, the program's a year, it has to take place within the same fiscal year, so it's kind of pushing us into next year. But the university needs us to get registered by August. They actually gave us an extension that, knowing that we're trying to get approval for all of this, that they'll extend it to August 16th, that we can get people registered, following their protocol, so we can get everyone.
When do they need to be paid for it though?
I believe right after registration, probably within August or so. They'll probably give us a week or two after registration.
And I also wanted to make a note, because I know there's a lot of concern about the secondary teachers and their capability, their education on HiCap, and I see there's 5 middle school teachers out of the 12 that have signed up.
Yeah, and again, that's just an interest form, just to see what it's there. We can go back and really establish who will be the first ones to go through this. I see this as something that could be ongoing as we build it. I also see these people, once they get this endorsement, could be like a trainer models. They can then train other people on this, and we build capacity is what I see this doing. But yeah, that was an area that was brought up during discussions and our surveys, that having an endorsement, ensuring people are endorsed, is an area of focus. So I thought it was great that we were able to make this connection, and they would offer it to us, plus offer some free professional learning with it.
Yeah, thank you for thinking this up. I think it'll be good.
I think you covered most all of my questions. They're really basically budgetary, where it comes from and which budget covers this year's or next year's. And basically, I see an approximation, but basically capped at that 70,000-ish number. It's not gonna grow if we have more interest necessarily.
Right, I would try to stay within there. That's just for registration. We have to look at books and things like that too, but that was a preliminary just for registration. We could set that as the cap and stay within there. It might reduce some of the numbers. I do know, as far as the first people that go through it, total number of teachers, but I do know that you have to have a minimum, I think they said, of 8 people enrolled for the class. So as long as we try to at least hit that mark, I think we'll be good. And that would be one of the goals.
Thank you.
Dr. Davis?
No real questions. Ms. Minnie's asked all the questions.
You said we're using, high cap funds for this?
Yes.
So all the teachers that we send to this course, is there a plan for them to be integrated into high cap?
Not necessarily. I mean, to me, we have our other kids that are in general ed that are also in need of high cap services, so we're trying to cover both areas at the same time. And that's where this comes into play. Those who are in the classroom and those as far as like a self-contained, and those who are outside still providing services in the general ed format. So we've got to try to reach, both sides.
Yeah, I think I just wanna make sure that the funds that are given to us, specifically allocated to high cap, remain, allocated for high cap purposes.
Yes.
So, and I think PD for any and all teachers is great. I mean, I think it's a great opportunity, but I just wanna make sure that those funds, stay within high cap. So if these teachers are going to be dealing with, students who are highly capable, maybe not the self-contained teachers, but, are highly capable in the other schools, then that makes sense. But I want it to make sense where the teachers who are benefiting from this program are contributing to our high cap program. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And we could put preference when we do the registration that, ensuring that they have a high cap student, if they're outside self-contained, and we're trying to build that capacity and stuff like that.
Have we, did you reach out to all of the current high cap teachers first?
Well, that's a great question. I had put together what they call a Google chat, and we had put together the teachers that we know have taught or had, from Skyward, the data we got from there, had a high cap student in their class. And I think there was about 70 or so that we were able to pull from that. I put that into Google chat and we put this out on blast to them as far as interest, to see if they're interested also. And also to, say people are connected in there that are within the self-contained Pinewood or Liberty. So yeah, we put it out that way too.
Yeah, thank you for that. Are there any other, questions from board members?
Well, I was just thinking that, we have to, fulfill that part of our plan where we're expanding through all of our middle schools. So just thinking of your question about if students are in high cap or not at this moment. And I think that, offering this opportunity is a good way to ensure we're able to serve more students.
Yeah, and I think it's gonna be a net benefit to the district regardless, but, again, I just wanna make sure that, I wanna make sure that the funds that we use stay attached to the purposes of those funds. So, if there's, no further discussion, all those in favor? All right, motion passes.
Thank you all very much.
All right, board action J3, item endorsement teacher plan of support for the 2024-2025 school year, presented by Lori Knudsen.
Good evening, Board of Directors, Dr. Robbins. I'm here to present an out of endorsement teacher plan of support for Melissa Guthrie from Elm Creek Elementary School, Special Education. She is a K-5 teacher. She has over 1 year of experience as a teacher and 5 years of experience in the behavior program as a paraeducator. This next year, we'd like her to teach in the special ed classroom with a mentor teacher, Sheila Bowen, who has 11 years veteran teacher with school-based experience working with students with behavior-based disabilities. Again, as we are hiring for special ed teachers, There is a shortage. We feel having her take this position, be a part of this position with such a strong mentor and be a part of Marysville School District will only benefit us.
All right, thank you. Have a motion.
I move to approve the plan of support for Melissa Guthrie, who is teaching out of endorsement for the 2024-2025 school year.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have a general question.
Yeah.
Adjacent. So as we are reducing workforce, I'm assuming our CBA kind of covers how that happens, and it's not necessarily related to endorsements. So for example, if we had a first-year teacher this year who was a special education teacher, my general understanding is that it's kind of a last in, first on the list, so to speak. Is that correct?
That is correct. We are exhausting all our special ed endorsement teachers. And we are in need of more special ed teachers at this point in time. You're welcome. Yeah, is that correct?
That is
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Are you back up here? You are. All right, next up, financial reports for May 2024.
Good evening, Board of Directors and Dr. Robbins. I'm here in place of Courtney Hill in support of Susan Holliday in the review of our monthly financial support.
So I have May financials, is the first presentation. Our general fund ended with a positive balance in May. All the other funds are doing great. For those of you who may not know, we have 5 funds, each one has its own rules. And the general fund is the one that everybody's interested in right now. It does what you normally consider for school districts. The other funds are capital projects that builds buildings, does major renovations and some big projects. Transportation vehicle that buys yellow buses. ASB, which is the students' money. And last but not least, debt service, which pays kind of like our mortgage for schools that we've built in the past.
I move to approve the attached May financial reports.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion?
I think my comments can probably wait until June.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. June.
Okay.
June's.
Onward. I also have the June financial packet, which will put us back up to date. June finances went pretty well, other than we had to borrow some money from capital projects to finish out June. We borrowed $2.5 million in the last go-round. And I would like to report to everyone that we have paid off half of that. We've paid off 1.25, and we have the other 1.25 to pay off at the end of the month. We ended with a negative balance in general fund for the month of June, but all the other funds did well.
All right, is there a motion for June?
I move to approve the attached June 2024 financial reports.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Start over here.
First of all, I just want to reiterate how much I appreciate the additional reports that we're getting. I think it helps to provide a clearer picture of what's happening in the district. And I guess I just have some questions about just trends that you're seeing for this school year. Are we on track? I think, our estimated fund balance, we're estimating that we're gonna end August, which is the end of our fiscal year, positive as opposed to negative. Is that?
Yes, I anticipate we will end the year with a positive fund balance. We actually won't know exactly how positive until we get year end done, which takes place in October.
And then, cash flow wise, it's a little on the sticky side, in the summertime. And, what is our plan for that?
So, the last board meeting, when we talked about the loan, we discussed, for anybody who has forgotten or wasn't here, we discussed that state apportionment, which provides a huge amount of our money, comes in at a low percentage for June. And because we've only started collecting our levy in April, we did not have enough to make it through June without borrowing more money from capital projects. However, for the month of July, we anticipate getting, I'm just drawing a blank, it's either 11% or 12% of apportionment compared to 5 to 6% that we got for June. So that's a big difference. I want to say it's about $9 million different. It allows us to pay back that loan and puts us in much better standing for the summer.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I remember, it was May was 6%, June was 5%, July's 12%.
Sounds about right.
So for the 12% that we're having to pay back into our capital projects fund, does that put us in a tricky spot in July?
So currently I have 1.25 million to pay back to capital projects that we've promised we will take care of at the end of this month or beginning of August. And we will do that. That will happen. That will mean that we still owe the 5 million that we borrowed last November to be paid back in November. We do much better coming into the new year. I'm hoping that between our cuts and our budget, which is a positive budget this year, that we'll have better times next year. Definitely more positive than what we've had this year.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I guess the only other point I just wanted to reemphasize is that we're borrowing from ourselves.
We are
Paying ourselves back.
We are borrowing from capital projects, and we are borrowing interest based on what the county treasurer has as their daily yield.
Right,
So we are-
that they set, but it comes back to us.
Yes, we're borrowing from our own capital projects, paying back our own capital projects, and we are paying essentially market rate yields to ourselves. Which, if we hadn't borrowed the money, it would be in the account earning interest. So this way, the other account isn't penalized at all.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion from the board? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, next up, employee non-renewal board appeal, presented by Dr. Zach Robbins, Superintendent.
Thank you so much, distinguished board of directors. I have a employee non-renewal board appeal. We have an employee named Michelle Jones who is presenting this board appeal to appeal her non-renewal. So you all have all the information associated with this appeal, and you will have 10 days to respond to the employee's appeal. And that is my report.
All right, thank you. All right, just making sure.
And so just because, because this is an appeal and not like a board action at this time, there is no motion. Just, you all have to just
Just
respond.
informational?
Yes,
Right.
sir.
Okay.
Is there an SAP for how we respond to this?
It's a RCW, I think it's a RCW 28A 405,
So we have 10 days.
220.
Okay.
10 days from when it was brought to the board for the board to make a decision on the appeal.
does that require a special board meeting? Because then we have to make a decision on the board.
I think so. I know that a decision has to be made, so I'll have to, Claudette.
If it would be helpful, I could pull the board policies and send them to you along with the RCW and the relevant portion of the Open Public Meetings Act.
Just out of curiosity, how often does an appeal come to the board?
That doesn't happen often.
Good. This is a good learning moment for the board then, learning process. Alrighty, follow-up items. We have work study dates, board meeting dates, and upcoming events. So the next board meeting is August 5th, 2024. That's gonna be a work study as well as a regular session meeting. And just wanna reiterate, I think the Financial Oversight Committee is gonna be at that work study on August 5th. And how I think that work study is gonna work is the first 15 minutes or so, the Financial Oversight Committee is gonna present on their findings, and then, for the next 30 minutes afterwards, they will, solicit essentially a public hearing, but during the work study. And then I think during the regular session meeting, they're gonna come back in and kind of give us a 10-minute summary for those who weren't in attendance for the work study. And then of course, we have the regular public hearing during our regular session. So just wanna make sure that the community knows about that August 5th work study. Superintendent comments.
Thank you so much, sir. I would just like to welcome 2 new members to the district leadership team. We made a recommendation for hire for Brandon Bowman as the Executive Director of Finance and Operations. Brandon has experience as a financial officer for Boeing, Microsoft, and Amazon, so we're looking forward to him joining the team. And also welcoming Brooke Marshall as Executive Director of Human Resources, and she has both higher ed and K-12 human resource director experience. So we're looking forward to those 2 people joining the team.
All right, thank you very much. Board comments, let's start with Director Davis.
Looking forward to getting the opportunity to hear, the oversight board's, evaluation of our plan. I wanna just thank those that are still here and participating, in, this process together with us. I appreciate, all your comments, and, to Mike Hogan, your comments about the greenhouse and the agricultural program, I will make sure that we get the plan back to you. I'm excited about that. I think that it's a great opportunity for Marysville, and I wanna say thank you to Best Schools Marysville for taking this program and kind of moving forward with it and turning it around. That was a very top-notch program. I was a part of horticulture with Mr. Getz as a junior and a senior. So seeing that building kind of just get left to crumble is very disappointing, but that we're taking care of that asset in partnership with community partners is really amazing, and we will get an answer for your questions about the exact plan. What I do know is there's 2 teachers that had an interest of teaching in the greenhouse and bringing that back to life, and Mr. Apple expressed that he wanted to see that happen, and so that's where the work kind of came into play. And so
looking forward to that, and I think it is a really positive, thing for MSD at a time when we have a lot of just, uncertainty, so I'm excited about that. I wanna say thank you to Grove Street for their good work, 8,000 man hours, that's a lot of time, a lot of commitment, and they just, every year continue to do good work for the community. So, that's kind of my comments for tonight.
So I just would echo some of your comments, especially, with respect to Grove Church and Best Schools Marysville. It's so encouraging to see, community support and giving back to our schools, so important. Also wanted to thank the staff for continuing to work this summer and serve kids. I also want to recognize our district level service center staff that have been working 1 and 2 people's worth of jobs, trying to produce both this year's financial plan, next year's financial plan, and work with the financial oversight committee and answer all of their questions. It's been a tremendous volume of work, and so I want to recognize that and thank everybody. And then also just wanted to talk a little bit about calendar, since we don't always have the opportunity to, but I think between new board member selection, getting those interviews scheduled, we talked about board annual goals, trying to get something scheduled there. And then I appreciate that the July 10th documents were put on the agenda tonight. I thought it was important that it was, at least here, we're a little bit short staff-wise because it's July and folks aren't around, but I think having a work study and some sort of fuller conversation where we can dig into those documents and talk about both next year and then, because we need to right now, we need to look into the next year as well and talk about the school closure document as well. So I just hope that we can have a more complete conversation, but thank you for putting it on the agenda. I know folks are taking their time in July. I also just really appreciated the comments about kind of the systemic funding issues. I appreciate that you raised those. I've been spending a whole lot of time on OSPI's website, as I'm sure some of you have been as well. There's a financial health indicator model, and there's 19 other school districts with similar scores as Marysville. I appreciate that, we've had our challenges for a while, but we're not by any stretch alone. And while there has definitely been progress on the state side with funding, there's definitely still issues to address. So, I think I was digging through that, there's a cash report, Susan, that was posted. And I saw that there's a negative $625,000 special ed penalty if you exceed that 13.5% cap. That's a lot of money that's being taken from our students, that gets from students. And, especially when we're looking at that second year of funding, our gap that we need to make up isn't, it's a couple $2 million, but gosh, $600,000 would really go a long way towards filling that gap. So, again, the legislature made progress last year, but there's definitely more work to be done next year, so. We'll look forward to August 5th.
Very much.
So I'll probably repeat some of the stuff that you guys already said, but I do wanna thank the staff at Liberty and Marshall for providing meals to the kiddos, because I know that that's important to a lot of families, just to get a regular, meal, and, unfortunately, a lot of families are struggling right now, so thank you to those people that are filling that up. And then, also to the Grove Church and the iHeart projects. I can't even think of how many years that's been going on. But it's just grown and grown, and it's really, we really appreciate it. Ron, I wanna thank you for the timeline and your comments and your support. You give us constructive criticism, but you also give us some positive, encouragement, so we appreciate that from you and Best Schools. And then I also wanted to talk about the horticulture program. My husband, that was like his only positive experience in high school, was horticulture and his relationship with Mr. Getz, and he's been, he's talked about, he kept in touch with Mr. Getz actually after probably 15 years, even after high school, we would go by and visit him, and he's on Whidbey Island right now, but I think that my husband plans on reaching out to him and letting him know that that we're reviving it, because there's obviously a lot of students that have positive impacts from that, so I'm thankful to all of you that are working on that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the August 5th meeting. I think it's gonna be very informative. That's all I've got.
Thank you very much. There's not much left to talk about after the three of you spoke, but, and I didn't think that horticulture would be spoken about as much tonight, being that it's not on the agenda, but I too took horticulture when I was in high school back in Texas. And there's a lot to learn from horticulture. I mean, patience, learning the value of patience, right? Because you can't plant a seed and see it grow the next day, right? You have to be patient. You do learn, bioscience, right? You learn how to test dirt and learn the acidity levels and what types of plants grow well in different types of dirt. There's a lot to be learned in horticulture. And so I'm excited to see kind of that my wife always talks about, I think her word is flourish. That's her favorite word. And she acquired that word when we moved here. We moved into a house that had 3 apple trees on it, and every spring she would see the flowers bloom, and then of course the apples come after the flowers. And so, and then just to see our kids' lives flourish and to see our students flourish through horticulture, I think. So anyways, horticulture played a big part in my life whenever I was in high school. I do want to give another shout out to Jimmy. Now that after we've passed this thing, I just want to just tell him thank you again for putting the work into that. I know he reached out to myself and Eliza a few times and Claudette on and working on that. So I would imagine now that he's out of high school, an aspect of his career, if it's not political, it's going to be supporting a cause somewhere. So I think he's going to do good at that. But I do want to mention, because I hadn't mentioned tonight, I do plan on, for the board candidate interviews, I'm hoping for the 29th of this month. Jody, I don't know if that's a hard date yet or not, but the 29th, so next Monday, potentially we gotta reach out to the candidates to see if their schedule permits, but within the next week or two, we should be doing the candidate interviews, and that'll be public. So that date will come. So just wanted to give an update on that. Other than that, we're going to go into executive session, so I'll go ahead and read this thing here. Marysville School District Board of Directors will meet for 1 hour and 30 minutes in an executive closed session meeting on Monday, July 22nd, 2024 from 7:30 to 9 p.m. What's the right one? 7? Yeah, let me just, I'll amend it. We'll say 7:15. All right, so we'll meet on Monday, July 22nd, 2024 from 7:15 to 8:45. The purpose of this meeting is to hold a discussion with legal counsel about the legal risks of current or proposed action and a discussion about current or potential litigation. No action will be taken by the school board during or following the executive session. And at the end of the executive session, I'll come back out here and adjourn. So if any of you folks are left out here at 8:45, you'll see me come out and adjourn the meeting. Thank you again, everybody, for coming out and staying out. Appreciate it.